I had a triple major as a undergraduate at Berkeley, and I didn't do well in any of them because I was a radical. I was leading peace drives at Seder Gate on campus in 1938, 39, 40, and 41, and all of that made it so that I didn't pay much attention to what I was supposed to be doing. When World War II came along, I joined the Merchant Marine because I was a conscientious objector and didn't want to kill anybody. And I had 4 years at sea, read a lot of books, and I decided I wanted to become an economist and save the world. And that was going to be easy. So I went about figuring out how I should save the world. I had been a photographer, professional photographer, in my undergraduate days at college. And when I came back from the war, the woman who had been my advisor as a photographer, her husband was a professor of economics at the University of California. And I'd go there for dinner and they'd argue over whether I should become an economist or a photographer. And I made a mistake and I became an economist instead of a photographer. You can't argue with a Nobel Prize, but I sometimes think I'd have been a better photographer. In fact, I spent a summer of 1941. I lived with migrants and as migrants moved up the Central Valley of California, I moved with them, and I'd live with them from Monday through Friday, and then Friday afternoon I'd go home to my house in just below San Francisco, develop and print all the negatives, and then on Sunday night I'd go back and live with them again. And so I did that for the whole summer of 1941. And so I was a very serious photographer. I really had a serious time trying to decide whether I was going to be a photographer or an economist. Although that's obviously a grandiose statement, since it's hard to beat a Nobel Prize. So let's do a little bit of history. The year after I won, I was in 15 different countries, and I was never at home. And indeed, my wife and I spent all the time wandering around the world. It was fun. It was exciting, but it had changed. And still, 18 years later, it still influences my life all the time. I was an economist. I still am an economist, but economic theory is one, static. It's timeless. It assumes perfect knowledge, perfect information on the part of all the players. And while it's very useful, and I don't say it being useful for economic analysis in a moment of time, it's not very useful for an economic historian trying to deal with what happened over, well, 10,000 years of time, but anyway, over time. And that's how I eventually came to institutional economics. Institutions were all about how you structure society, both at a moment of time and over time, to deal with the problems you face. In new institutional economics, it begins with cognitive science and goes all the way on up to the way in which we organize societies. So you begin with the cognitive science, how the mind and brain work, and how we get the beliefs we have, and how that beliefs shape the way we see the world and deal with it. And so I've spent my life trying to figure out what institutions are, how they work, and how they should work, and particularly how they should work, because one of the things that is a problem with economics is that it's not only static, but it assumes that everybody knows everything. And of course, if that was so, the world is easy.